So hi everyone, my name is Federico, and this is Cuttle's weekly live stream. So I got this request for designing this kind of monogram ornament, or monogram. Maybe it's not an ornament; it's just the monogram. So I'm gonna run you through like the construction first, and then we'll figure out how to make it nicer as a template. So I'm going to leave this here as a reference. I want to say that there is a split monogram ornament in the Cuttle templates. Of course, it looks a little different, but it has a similar kind of vibe where you get a big letter in the back, and then you can choose the name in front. And then there is some like decoration in the back. I don't think this is a good starting point for the one that we're about to make. I think it's easier to make it from scratch. So, but I just wanted to mention it. So let's start with the like basic construction. So this one is composed of like a big circle where there is a background letter, and then there is like a bar in the middle. So I'm gonna start by constructing it in kind of like a very simple way. So I'm gonna start with a circle. I'm gonna drag a circle from the left, and I'm gonna make it 4 inches for now. That seems like a reasonable starting point. And I wanna give this circle like 2 bars. Actually, I'm gonna call this the circle monogram. So to this circle, I'm gonna apply the modifier called outline stroke, which gives an outline to the stroke, and I can select the width of that outline. So I think I'm gonna do about 1/2 inch, a bit more actually. So that's 1/2 inch. Let's go to 0.6. So this is like a convenient way of creating like 2 concentric circles where I know the width in between them. And then instead of having a hairline stroke, I'm gonna give it some thickness by deselecting or checking this hairline option. So that gives it a width, that gives this stroke a width of 0.1 inches. I can change that, but I'm gonna stick with 0.1. So that would be like my starting point. Then I wanna put that letter in the middle. So I'm just gonna grab the regular text. I'm gonna put it right in the middle. I'm gonna do, let's say I wanna do an M. I'm gonna use the same font that the other ornament uses, because like that seems like a fancy enough font. And that is this one. So because at the end I'm gonna be flattening all of these, meaning everything that's black is gonna be welded. I'm gonna just give the letter a black fill, and probably increase the size to make it, kind of touch the edges. I think there might be some adjustment we want to make on these, but for now, I'm just gonna do the basic construction. So now that the M is kind of touching the edges, I want to have that name in the middle. And so there is a built-in thing we can use in Cuttle to facilitate that. So it's called the split text. So I can search it here. I'm going to search for split, and there it is. So I can just grab that and put it in the middle right there, in the center of the canvas. Let me just check that this is working. All right. Cool. So now that I have my split text, I also want to kind of size it appropriately and give it a fill. So let's give it a fill, make it black. I want to size it in such a way that it fits inside the circle. So I know my circle is 4 inches, and the height of that I want to be something like 1/2 inch. Let me hide that initial for a moment so we can see what's happening. So the bars I want them to be the same thickness as that outline I gave the circle. So I'm gonna select the split text, and then there's an option down here for the bars and the bar height. You know, I can make it as thick as or as thin as I want, but I'm gonna go with the same thickness I use for the outline, which is 0.1 inches. And I'm gonna use the same font here that the split text monogram uses, and that is the League Spartan. It seems like a blocky kind of, you know, sans serif font, kind of similar to this one. And so now I want to control the order of things. So I want these to be behind this main circle. So these little sections here get like cut off. So this main circle should have a white fill. That way these guys get hidden when I put it behind the circle. So I'm going to drag it here to put it behind. So that takes care of that. Then if I bring back that M, I want this split rectangle to have like a white fill. So it kind of creates like a blank canvas, or like kind of cuts that M in half. And I cannot change the fill of this rectangle, so I need to bring another rectangle. But I know the dimensions here. I did 4 inches by half an inch. So I can bring another rectangle here. I can call that 4 inches by 0.5 inches. I can give that guy a white fill. And now I get that cut, but I just need to organize it. So I know this rectangle needs to go behind the split text, all right? And then the initial needs to be behind that as well. Let's see, behind that. Yeah, okay. I think I got it. So now this the M gets split by that, and then let's use like an actual name. So this is the split text. Let's say I want the Martinez family. Actually, you know what? I think I want to make this rectangle a little smaller. So I'm going to go to 0.4, which makes my white rectangle also 0.4. Actually, it doesn't matter too much, but it's going to, yeah, there we go. That's like more balanced. All right, so I think the next step is to create that text that goes around the circle. So the names and the sins, so I'm gonna browse all shapes here. Let me move myself over to the right. So you'll see that there's an option called text. So I can go to more, and then there are several options for creating text around the circle. I think initially you would gravitate to the one that says text on top and bottom, because that's kind of like what we have going on. But I'm gonna show you why this one, it's a little difficult to make work. So now that I have this one here, let me use the same font. What was that? League Spartan. We probably want that to be uppercase. Can change it here. Okay, so let's say the text on top is going to be James and Laura. And then the text at the bottom is going to be EST 2025. So one thing I need to adjust, and let's give it a fill. Let's give it a black fill. Okay, so one thing I need to adjust is that it needs to move a little bit in order to kind of fit perfectly in between those two bars. And so there is an option there down here in advanced. No, it's not in advanced, sorry. There is an option here called the vertical offset. being hidden? Yeah, I can still see it. So let me move this up. So there's an option here called the vertical offset. So that one allows me to offset the text based on the center line. So if I align the top text, let me exaggerate it. If I notice how if I change the vertical offset, this one goes up, but this one goes up in relationship to the inner circle. So it's kind of difficult because if I align this one, the top, then the bottom one is a little bit out of alignment. So that means it's better if I separate them into the top text and the bottom text. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to delete this one. Let's go back to the text. So that means I need to do one that is the text around circle on the top for the top text. I'm going to center that. And so when I apply the vertical offset to that one, I can center it like more precisely. And then I need a separate one that is the text around circle at the bottom to be the bottom text. So then I can also apply a vertical offset to that one to precisely where I want it to be. So that's the idea with that. So let's make it work. So I have the top text and the bottom. Now, might be easier for me if I label it. So I have the top text, top, bottom. This is the initial. All right, so let's start with the top. So the top, I wanted to have the James and Laura. I want that to be uppercase. I want that to be the same font that I used before. I feel like this kind of project has a lot of like typographical elements. And so there's a lot of like tweaking things around. And then I want the vertical offset to be closer to that. So it's kind of like centered in between, something like that. I also want the size. I want to change the size to inches because I know that I made these about 0.6. I'm going to make it 0.8 inches. And let's make the fill black. Getting there. Then let's do the same for the bottom circle. So that one is going to say EST 2025. Could be less. Let's say the same font. Let's make it uppercase, capitalize. And then let's adjust the vertical offset of this one to probably the same. Yeah. And then change the size to inches. Same size. Okay. And then let's give it the fill. All right. So I think that's like kind of mission accomplished. Because we have something very similar. But there are a few things that I would like to do better. So first, I think the initial could be better placed because like you probably want the size to always like go up there, to fit inside of that circle. And then the position could be a little bit better adjusted because you want to like center it. The reason I say that is because if I were to try a different initial, even though the size is the same, it's not going to like touch the sides of the circle or something like these. I would have to adjust the size and adjust the position. So I think that could be a little bit better. The other thing that could be a little bit better is that what if we want to change the font? I want all the font to, the font of every element to be the same. So I think we could do that a little bit better too. So now that we kind of know how to build it, let's make it a little bit nicer. Maybe I'll start a new project actually. Let's go to File, New, so we can sort of work from scratch. So let's call it the monogram. All right, so I'm gonna go a little bit faster because now that we know the construction, we can like go for it. So I'm gonna grab a circle, make it 4 inches. I guess faster, but a little bit of a recap. So modify outline stroke. I made the previous one 0.6, I think, yeah. Instead of a hairline stroke, we want no hairline, so it has some thickness, and we wanna give it a white fill. So that's our base circle. Now let's do that initial in the center. So I'm gonna grab some text, place it on the center. I'm gonna do that M, and let's change the font. Use that same font that we used before. Let's make the fill black. Okay, so now I want that M to resize itself, or that initial to resize itself. And so for that, we can use the modifier. So there is a modifier called fit within. So I'm gonna select both of those, and I'm gonna apply this fit within modifier. So the beauty of this one is that it resized it and kind of placed it so it's touching. Let's extract the M as a parameter so we can like easily change it. I'm just gonna make it into a project parameter. I'm gonna call it the initial. So now whatever letter I type, it should fit inside of the circle. And that's kind of like the behavior I wanted. Fit within has other like possible adjustments, which is we can adjust the scale a little bit, which is nice. Then we can also kind of modify the position a tiny bit. So I think these are controls that are nice to have. So I think I'm gonna extract it as parameters. So I'm gonna say, let's stick with the M. Oh, so we wanna auto capitalize here to uppercase. Okay, cool. And let's extract those parameters so we can like play with them. So I'm gonna go to extract as project parameter for the position, and then the scale as project parameter. And this is gonna start getting a little busy. So I think I would like to organize it. So I'm gonna add a folder. So I'm gonna go to new parameter folder. So I'm gonna call it the initial options. And that's just like a way in which I can like take these parameters and stick them inside of that folder. So things are a little bit easier to read. So I get the position and the scale. Oh, and the font. Let's add the font. I'm gonna extract as project parameter because the initial font. And let's move that inside of the initial options. All right. So I'm gonna run. So here's a little trouble I might run into here, which is, remember I want that initial to be like behind the circle. Because like I want, for example, the tips here of the M to be like properly behind. But if I were to put it behind right here inside of this group, it's gonna get confused. It's gonna try to fit the circle inside of the M. So what's the fix? The fix for that, oh, I can change the scale here just to exaggerate it. So the fix for that is that I think I need to separate that outside circle to be a separate component, so I can kind of like plaster it on top. This is what I mean. I'm gonna right click on it, and there's an option here to extract as a component. So I can kind of make it reusable. So here's my component. I'm gonna call it the outside ring. Probably the only well, let's carry on. So fit within has this option where you can keep the container or not. if I uncheck that, the container goes away, but it's still serving as the reference for sizing things. But then I can sort of bring that outside ring back on top of it. So the outside ring is both serving as the reference, but then I'm also using it to place it on top. That's kind of like my quick solution for being able to have the M be behind it. So, but this is also going to serve me when I start doing the split text, because then I get the option to move that outside ring around. So, okay, we got that. Now let's do the split text. So I'm going to bring that split back in. Let's give it the scale that we want. So that's going to be 4 inches by 0.4. Let's change the size of the bars to be 0.1. And then we want that to have a black fill. All right. So then we want that rectangle that goes behind it. So let's bring in a rectangle, same size, 4 by 0.4. That one is going to be white. And I need to reorganize it so it's behind the split text. And then the split text needs to be behind. Okay. The outside ring needs to be at the very top of everything. I know that. Okay. And then this is the initial. This is the rectangle for the split text. Okay, cool. This works. Now let's extract the text as parameter for the center. And let's rename it. I suppose I could call it the center text. Let's say these are the Martinez family. And let's choose the same font. I'm gonna create another folder to like stay organized. So I'm just gonna call it the text options, or the main text options. So that would be this one. Let's extract that font. It's a project parameter. I'm gonna put it in there, in the main text options. And I'm gonna rename it so I kind of keep track of it, main font. And the one we were using for that was League Spartan. Yeah, okay. Cool. Now let's do the top text and the bottom text. I think those are the next. So I'm gonna browse all shapes, find the text, start with top text, bring it in. Then let's extract it as parameter. Top text. And here I want to type the name, so James. And let's make those adjustments to make it like work. So it needs to have a black fill. It needs to have the same font that drives everything else. So that's why I kind of like gave it a different name. So I can click these 3 dots, edit expression. So I can use the, what did I call it? The main font. Edit expression, I can type main font. And so that's gonna apply to that. And then let's adjust the vertical offset. So something like that. And let's make the font a little bigger because I'm noticing that I need the bottom of the font to be touching the inner ring. So let's change the size. So now I get it to touch. All right, cool. And let's add the bottom font, the bottom circle. So I'm going to use the same over here. text around the circle. Place it here. Oh, as a default, it comes as a 4-inch circle. So that's just like serving me well. But if we were to make a bigger circle, you would change this scale right here. So this one, let's extract the text as a parameter. So it would be the bottom text, EST 2025. And I'm going to assign the same font to this one. So I'm going to click the 3 dots, edit expression, and I call it the main font. So that comes with the forcing it to be uppercase. And then we can separately adjust the vertical offset. So it kind of matches there in between the rings. So something like that. And I want it to have the same size. So inches. And of course it needs to have a black fill. Oh right, this one has quite a number of elements to like deal with. So yeah, what's left to do here is if I want to cut it, I need to flatten it. So I can select everything and then go to modify and flatten. That way I can have this like stroke result. So that's all going to be the cut lines. Everything that's black got joined together. And I suppose I could test it. So let's see. That F looks okay. Say type Fernandez. Yeah, that fits in there. And then that works. Yeah, so everything's working. Probably if I were to do that F, I might want to change the initial scale maybe a little bit to kind of match that. And I think one of the challenges with this one is that whenever you change the font, each font is going to have like a different alignment. So I think that's why it's nice to have those settings there, because for example, this font, I think you might want to, change the adjustment here and then make it work. A lot of font work has to do with like what kind of looks good visually. So that's okay. Similarly with the main text fonts, if we choose something else, the alignment is going to change a little bit. So I think if I were to make this a little better, I would probably extract that alignment as a parameter. That might be useful. And then finally, let's present it as a template. I think it would be nice to have this one. I could call the preview. And then I could create a new component that I can call the cut. And so that would be the preview, probably flattened. Or maybe that's redundant. Maybe I could just apply the flatten here. So I could flatten it in the cut. And then here's where we would have the stroke result. That way, when I place it on the README, I can place the main component, so the preview, so I can kind of see what it looks like. And then here I can click this plus and add the cut component. So that's what like someone would download after they're done making their kind of tweaks. I think a final detail I wouldn't mind adding is like a way to resize the whole thing. I'm not sure I'm gonna have time to explain it, but I'm gonna do it. So the logic, explaining the logic is gonna take more time than this, but like I think what I wanna have is something like a parameter called width. That way I can select the width of the whole thing. So let's say we want it to be 4 inches. Sorry about that. So I want this width to control the scaling of the whole thing. And so the trick here is that I need to find like a sort of scale factor. I should make a video explaining this, but I'm just going to do it here just in case it sparks your imagination. So I'm going to create a new parameter called scale factor. So I need to type something like, the desired width is width. And then the actual width of this whole thing, I can just like select this, and I know that the actual width is this number. I'm going to copy it and I'm going to paste it here in my scale factor. So this is how much I need to scale this existing thing to meet the width. Hence the factor is like how much do I multiply it by. So I can take this group and transform it by scale factor. So that way, now the width drives the size of these, meaning if I select 6 inches here in the width, for example, then the scale factor kind of multiplies it, and then you can see that the actual width is 6 inches. So that should work well in the README, because here I can see that the width is 6 by 6, and that scales properly, and also the cut file scales properly. Yeah, all right, cool. It took me a couple of minutes, but like maybe it gives you an idea. Maybe I'll if you would like to, I will explain how the scale factor works a little bit better. All right, cool. So thank you so much for watching, and thank you for your comments and questions, and I will see you in the next one. All right, bye.